Hey, Mega Level Nerds here, and boy, us Star Wars fans are eating good right now, right? We got the Bad Batch going, we got the Mandalorian Season 3 going, the Acolytes coming soon, the writing has been absolutely spectacular, whether it's the animated Bad Batch or, of course, the Mandalorian, just so good. So good. So, Ray, I know you don't watch the Bad Batch.
I'll get there eventually one day.
Yeah. Welcome to the show once again, by the way.
Oh, thank you. Week 3, baby. Week 3.
That's right. So, but as we continue on the Mandalorian train, of course, this week's episode, right, is here, of course. The Convert is the name of this particular episode, which is kind of funny because it could have a dual meaning, and we'll get into that. But I guess first impressions, Ray, what were your feelings on this episode?
Well, the episode as a whole?
The episode as a whole. What's your impressions?
Confused. I was confused. I was very confused. Like, did I miss something from the previous seasons? Like, I know that Homegirl worked for Moff Gideon, but I have no idea who the hell she was.
Ah, okay. Okay, so yeah, let's get into it then. Because that was a little bit of a payoff. She wasn't, that particular character, and the character, of course, we're referring to. She was an Imperial on Moff Gideon's ship. And we did see her in previous episodes, and she shows up in this one. So, the Convert. This episode, first of all, is the longest Mandalorian episode I think so far in the show. In general,
I wasn't ready. I'm like, I'm gonna turn it on at 8:00. I'll be good, and then be good for the show. And it's like 8:55. I'm like, come on now.
Yeah. So this was a long one for sure, because the two before this had been like some of the shortest,
like 42 minutes or something like that. Yeah, it was pretty short.
So they really turned about face here. But it did continue right on from where the last one left off, which is, Bo-Katan got Din Djarin, out of the living waters. He took his little water sample, and then boom. Here we are. She asked him if he saw anything alive down there. He didn't. And she didn't tell him anything, and so obviously we're talking about the fact that when Din Djarin, and he confirms that he just fell, he wasn't pulled down or anything, he just didn't realize it was that deep, and fell, and that's why in the last episode she had to go down there and get him. And on her way up, she sees the Mythosaur, which in Mandalorian mythos, if y'all's a Star Wars snob like me, that for the Mythosaur to return means a brand new age of the Mandalorians. But she keeps this to herself. She doesn't tell Din Djarin about it. I wonder why.
She seemed a little confused though, because like I said last week, man, you can tell a lot about body language in this show. Like, they're wearing masks, but you can tell what they're thinking a little bit. Like, she seemed confused. Like, was it real? Did I imagine it? Or, she's just sitting there kind of not rocking back and forth, but just staring at the water. And she just seems very perplexed. Yeah. Like, that's maybe why she didn't bring it up. Like, maybe he'll think I'm crazy if I, go seeing ancient dinosaurs. You know what I mean? So she's kind of keeping it to herself.
Yeah, I mean, I could see that. She did ask, did you see anything down there? And he said, no, just the chasm. So, it seems sus, but at the same time, perfectly reasonable at the same time, particularly if she's doubting whether or not what she saw was actually real. So they leave that place, and so she's like, cool, let's go back to my house, chill out. So they get off the Mandalore planet, and they go. When they're back on her world, where her castle is, they're attacked by a squadron of TIE interceptors, which is cool.
And TIE bombers.
Yes.
When's the last time you saw TIE bombers?
It's definitely been a while. I mean,
Empire.
yeah. Well,
Because I
Empire
don't.
Strike Back for the TIE bombers. TIE interceptors were in Jedi. I don't think there were any other
Yeah, they were in
original trilogy.
Final Battle of Jedi. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. So yeah, nothing
They
new,
might have
but
they might have showed up in Rise of Skywalker, but it might have been a quick, little thing because they had all
right.
kinds of real little quip things in that final battle. A lot of uh, Easter
Yeah.
eggs and things like that.
Oh yeah,
Like the
particularly when all those
like
ships
what
were there.
all the ships show up and you got people zooming into a megapixel going, oh
Yeah.
man, I think that's this from this show, like from the Clone Wars, and I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, like you guys are
Hera's
some
ship
nerds.
from Rebels is in there.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, there's some nerds.
Hey, it pays off. It's fun. But yeah, so her and Din Djarin, they deal with it, but what's funny is like she's in her ship, but he figure I got to get out, I got to get in my M1 and help. So like he drops out of her ship, leaves Grogu there, which was kind of unexpected because as soon as he heard he was going, he like flipped the lid in his thing.
Well, was that the only one getting Deadpool 2 vibes right there? Like the wind was gonna blow the wrong way and Din Djarin was gonna
Yeah.
end up somewhere else. Yeah.
And he even kind of landed fucked up,
Yeah.
and tried to play it off. But nonetheless, he gets in his M1 and they take care of the TIE interceptors. And then once they do that, that's when they discover these TIE bombers just blew up her castle, just blew up
Yeah.
her ancestral home.
Well, that was the scout party too. That was just
Yeah.
three or four ships that were just scout ships, and then the battle after the bombing. She's trying to chase down the bombers because she's pissed off, and then there's a whole like squadron, more than a squadron, like a legion
Yeah.
of ships, and they got to get the hell out of there. Then the episode cuts, and I'm like, oh, just gonna leave us hanging there, huh?
Yeah.
Okay, here's random characters that you probably don't remember or you're gonna get to know for the next 45 minutes, and I'm like, well, damn. It
Yeah. They definitely.
was a bait and switch, is what it was.
Yeah, it was definitely abrupt because, like you said, boom, it ends. They run away. They go back into. They go to hyperspace. She follows wherever Din Djarin's because she still has Grogu at this point before they even go into hyperspace. So they've got to meet up. So they do get away from that large legion of TIE interceptors, but they
Yeah,
mentioned that this is more than like a warlord. An imperial warlord would have or something like that.
yeah, but can we give it up to Star Wars for defining physics? Everybody's always like, well, how do they do the space battles? Like, how they flip upside down, but nobody
Yeah.
ever goes anywhere, right? But then you see the droid kind of levitating a little bit as she's doing the
Yeah.
turn, the 0 point turn, and then he crashes down to the ground. I'm like, aha, see, they're not just, in like stabilizers and things like that.
Right.
I thought that was a nice little touch.
That was cool. Yeah, that whole fighter scene was cool. Actually, that was like movie quality, starship combat. It was just
Yeah.
kicked ass. I love it.
That's
Uh,
definitely where the budget went, and you could tell
yeah,
because for the next 45 minutes, all we get is talking, and that's it,
glowy ice
really.
cream.
Yeah, lightsaber ice cream or whatever it's called, but yeah, yeah,
So yeah, it definitely it does a turnabout face. They go into hyperspace. Boom, done. We are now. Don't get me wrong. Now, again, kind of threw you off. I love it. We boom chop. We are now in Coruscant, which we haven't seen in a while. It was
yeah.
really interesting to see the New Republic version of Coruscant. But the whole thing is that original Doctor, Doctor Persing, make sure, yeah, Doctor Penn Pershing.
It's like L-52 or something like that. They had code.
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
yeah, because they basically treat them like clone, robots at this,
yeah.
this program. But so this doctor, he's the one that was administering to, the child, Baby Yoda, now Grogu.
Hmm.
Back on Tatooine. So since then, he is like defected to the New Republic. Well, after Moff Gideon's whole operation was, taken care of, as a part of that, he's now in this program where you're former Imperial and you're going to become New Republic, but you got to go through this program. They've got special housing for you, and you have to do this job.
It's very very reminiscent of one after the Cold War to get citizenship. The Russians
Mm-hmm.
had to do kind of a similar thing. Also, not Nazi war criminals, not Nazi war criminals, but like anybody that was in the German army or things like
Mm-hmm.
that. After World War II had to do these kind of rehabilitation type camps to even be allowed in the country. So it's very real worldish, and
Mm-hmm.
yeah, but he and I have a theory about the Doctor, but I'm sure we're going to get into it in a little bit when we start fan booking.
Yeah. So, I mean, I liked it. I liked the fact that they did this character development. I like the world building, particularly where you see that like there's really no difference in Coruscant. Someone even mentions like Empire, Rebellion, New Republic. I don't
Yeah.
even notice.
Hmm.
So all these rich aristocrats, that are on Coruscant, they really never got even affected by the war. You could basically see, yeah, things are a little bit nicer under the New Republic, but the bureaucracy's still there. It's still the elites and the haves and the have-nots. But I thought it was interesting. He did this big speech in the old opera house. So if you remember the opera house from episode
Yeah.
3,
Yeah.
where Anakin learned about Darth Plagueis, they now use that as an arena for these ex-imperial people now in this program to come and say their piece. And so as this doctor talks about his clone work and wanting to do good for the Republic, and after he's done with that, all these rich aristocrats come. That's where we learn about the whole, Republic, Rebellion, Empire, who gives a shit.
Yeah.
So that was very interesting. But yeah, he goes back to this housing because they have to live in this particular housing. And yeah, it's almost like immigrants.
An internment camp
Yeah, an
almost.
internment camp. Exactly. And he meets some other ex-Imperials, and they all reminisce about shit. Oh, he likes the yellow ration wafers, and this other person that he meets there that we've seen before on Moff Gideon's ship. That's Aaliyah Kane, who was a communications officer. She's there. He recognizes her as somebody that worked on Moff Gideon's ship, and that's making him uneasy. Long story short, though, they end up kind of bonding, and that's where they go for the walk, where they've got the glowy lightsaber ice cream.
As, Don, as soon as he said, "I recognize you from Moff Gideon's ship," all
Yeah,
kinds of bells and alarms were going off for me. I'm
yeah,
like, "Oh no, no, do not trust her. No
yeah,
way. Anybody associated with Moff Gideon has an agenda. Just get away from her, Doc." And then he just keeps falling further and further into her little game. And damn, Doc, you
yeah,
screwed up.
yeah.
You screwed up. You screwed up bad, my man.
Yeah, you done fucked up, son.
Hmm.
'Cause yeah, they bond. And what's funny in that particular scene with the glowy ice cream, like, just kind of goes to show you kind of how fucked up Coruscant is, though, because it's covered in city, the whole planet, and they even mentions in this episode that there's only a couple other planets like this where it's just all city, but
It had a
nonetheless,
name. It had a name.
yeah,
I don't remember the name. Macropolis or
Yeah,
something like
Macropolis,
that. Yeah.
yeah, some shit like that. But so
Hmm.
they're walking along with their glowy ice cream, and what they come to is the peak of the tallest mountain on Coruscant. It just kind of pokes through the city. It just looks like a big boulder, but it's the top of the fucking tallest mountain on the planet, and it's the only part of the planet that's actually exposed over the city.
Hmm.
So I thought that, and we've seen that in other Star Wars shows and whatnot as well. But it just kind of it just
Before,
goes to show you.
before they actually said what it was, I'm like, oh god, is that the ruins of like the Jedi Temple? Oh,
Oh,
they made it a like a monument like 9/11, like the Twin Towers. Like, oh god damn. But then they're like, no, it's just the tallest peak of the mountain.
yeah,
I'm like, Okay, that's a little bit better.
Yeah. We'll have to see that though, because wasn't in some of the previews we saw like Jedi like sitting in a temple waiting for people to break through? I don't know, but
I'd have to rewatch the
yeah.
trailer.
So, yeah, these two characters, Dr. Pershing and what's her name again? I can never remember it. Aaliyah. They
I, I
bond.
I just call her the bitch.
The bitch. Well, yeah,
Yeah.
let's just we'll call her the bitch because she kind of looks like an angry little man too. But she basically convinces him that he should continue on his clone work for the good of the New Republic, even though he asked his therapy droid. So that's another kind of depressing part of this. Is like as part of their reconditioning or whatnot, they have to meet with the droid, and the droid just asks him dumb shit like, "Oh, do you feel any stress? Are you upset with any of your coworkers? Do you keep a regular schedule?" Like you'd normally have this sort of therapy with a human, but he's just got to talk to a damn droid.
I caught a little bit of a Blade Runner vibe. The opening scene
Yeah,
of
big
Blade Runner when
time.
they're asking the questions,
Yeah.
I just caught a little bit of that.
Well, in the coat he wears, when he wears like this trench coat at that point, when him and Aaliyah so they go to this old Death Star because she like convinces him like you should continue your research, even though because he asked that droid, he's like, hey, just for funsies, can I do my clones research? And they're like, no, that's prohibited in the New Republic. You can't do that. So she convinces, there's like these lab parts and shit that he needs from some old Star Destroyers that they have. But in order to get there, that means they have to leave because they're in this program. They're not like free citizens that can go wherever they want to. They can only go to certain parts. So to
Right.
go to this massive shipyard where they're decommissioning these Star Destroyers, they have to go beyond that. But a girl, the bitch, she seems to know all about. Oh no problem. We'll get there.
Yeah.
And at first he's like, well, no, I'm not going to do that because we're going to get caught, and I don't know. But she razzle
And she's
dazzles him.
like, I've done it before. Where do you think I got the yellow rations
There you
from?
go. Exactly.
Yeah.
So he's like, oh, I'm game. And that's where he gets his Blade Runner coat. And yeah, they go to this old Star Destroyer.
Yeah. The Star Destroyer junkyard decommission zone wherever they went. Yeah.
Yeah, because they just decommission anything Imperial. At one point, he's like, "Hey, there's like this useful Imperial stuff. Why are we decommissioning it?" And dude's like, "Because it's Imperial." And he's like, "Well, yeah, but we can use that. We could help with this." And the guy's like, "Dude, we're just behind. Can we just get it done, please?" Like
Yeah.
that's where the bureaucracy's at this point, and how wasteful it's being. Nonetheless, though, they get in this old Star Destroyer. They get the mobile lab and all the supplies that he needs to privately continue his research. I did forget to mention, though, as we're saying, because it's kind of reminiscent of some things, his coat being reminiscent of Blade Runner. Well, on their way to this Star Destroyer yard, they're on a train they didn't pay for, a train they didn't have passes to be on.
Yeah. No ticket.
No ticket. And at one
Little,
point, a
little
droid.
Indiana Jones.
Well, it reminded me a lot of Final Fantasy VII when you're on the train in Midgard and you go to those checkpoints and you have to keep moving to the back of the train because,
Yeah.
this droid starts to check people's tickets and they don't have any. So she's like, okay, we'll just move to the back of the train, move the back of the train. I don't know what that was supposed to accomplish unless they thought the droid was just going to give up or whatever, but they end up, going all the way to the back of the train and having to jump off. And that was just like, oh, that's like a total Final Fantasy VII moment there. I dug it. I dug it.
The train was coming to a stop. You heard the announcer say, we're pulling to the station,
Yeah.
blah blah. So they were slowing down. They weren't going full speed.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, they do end up, even though like you said, even though they had to jump off the train, they did end up making it to Star Destroyer. They got what they needed to get, and then they get out of there because they hear some strange sounds, which she tries, Miss Bitch, she tries to play off as, oh, the ship is just settling, but when they leave though, they get popped. The New Republic pops them, and So as it turns out, she actually set him up. She set him up. So he's now strapped up to a table to what he recognizes a mind flare, which is machines that the Empire would use to like erase memory, scramble brains, and whatnot. The Mon Calamari doctor or whatever it was tells him, well, we're not the Empire. It's just a low voltage. You'll have some pleasant colors to look at, and you'll be all good at the end of it,
Yeah.
And that's what they were going to do. But in like an observation room over to the side, the girl that just turned him in, the ex-Imperial, Aaliyah, she's there with another doctor and talking about, it's great, for every success we have one failure. I guess, she's the greatest success, and this person, Dr. Pensing, is now kind of a failure. But, she's like, hey, can I just hang out here? He's my friend. I'm concerned about him. Twilight Doctor in there's like, cool, no problem. He leaves. And then she turns the machine up.
Mm-hmm.
To like...
Cranks it up to 11.
Right. Spinal Tap. Cranks it up to 11. So now it's like... Now it's the mind flare machine that the guy was like freaking out about being strapped to.
Yeah.
And then after that, it cuts back. So before we go on, though, so you're right. We'll go back to it. It cuts right into the fucking Mando shit. Goes to this Coruscant, this sub-storyline, which you could say, oh, okay, it developed Dr. Pershing. We could see that, but he's obviously gone now. So the development really lies in the fact that, A, we just kind of got to see more of the galaxy, more Coruscant in how it's the fact that we're now the New Republic, Empire, New Republic, really doesn't change much there, and the commentary that can come along with that. But outside of that, we've seen more development of this. What I can only assume is she's still Imperial. This Aaliyah Kane, Miss Bitch,
yeah.
She is obviously a double agent, and icing any of these ex-Imperials that come into this program. And she kept on asking him, like, you're going to continue research, right? To help the Republic? You could help the Republic, And it's like, as soon as he confirmed, I'm going to do this to help the Republic, she's like, okay, you got to die or something. And
I have a theory on her.
All right.
So she worked for Moff Gideon.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So the doctor was in a cloning project.
Mm-hmm.
Is it possible that they had, maybe, because the Jedi kept very detailed records.
Mm-hmm.
What if they had their DNA and they cloned Yoda, Master Yoda, the most powerful Jedi, next to Vader and others that would come later, but Yoda, because maybe he had an easier, like, I don't know, like genetic code to duplicate. And that's where Grogu comes from, and they're kind of covering up the evidence. So she's lying in the wings in this reformant camp, waiting for these, people that worked on this cloning project or anything that had anything to do with Moff Gideon. So she's just knocking them off one by one. And it kind of makes sense why she didn't want to get caught on the train, because then the robot would have been, she seems to be pretty high up in that order, in that housing. Like she's like security or something.
Yeah.
He probably would have been like, oh, officer, blah, blah, blah. Okay, you're good to go. And that would have gave it all away, and she wouldn't have been able to pop him and get rid of that evidence. So I think that's why she was avoiding the droids.
Yeah, that could definitely be it. The only thing that makes me think that, that Grogu is not, he's not a clone of Yoda, is because he was cloned before all this happened, because he had been trained, in the Jedi Temple, during Order 66. But definitely it would explain their like fascination with him as the subject, though, because they're trying to make another Yoda. But we'll have to see, because my theory is, and this goes back to Bo-Katan in the beginning of the episode saying, well, this is, all these TIE interceptors. This isn't from just some random warlord.
Warlord, yeah.
I definitely think that um, Grand Admiral Thrawn. I think they are from Grand Admiral Thrawn.
That would be really cool if it was.
And I think this Elia Kane is now working for Grand Admiral Thrawn.
I would really like that. That'd be a hell of a twist.
It would, and it would be something that makes sense because we already know that Ahsoka is already looking for him.
Yeah.
Not to mention
that would kind of bridge the Ahsoka series, then, wouldn't it?
Right. Exactly.
So give you a little teaser of the Ahsoka show that's going to be later this year, right?
Yes, I can't wait for that show.
But they're always leaving breadcrumbs. Like Book of Boba Fett had Mandalorian. Well, that wasn't a breadcrumb. That was half a pie.
Well, yeah, I think that's the one thing that people may continue. I'm not troubled by this at all because I just see all the Star Wars shows as really kind of one show. I mean, they jump from place to place, so don't get me wrong. Like right now, as we do this, we've got Bad Batch, which is a show that takes place at basically the beginning of the Empire, and now we have The Mandalorian, which is a show that exists after the Empire is ended and while the First Order is forming. So, like, I mean, it's definitely spread out amongst the lore. God, I love it, though. But yeah, no, I mean, yeah, so obviously with this episode, we'll see. They'll just come at you with, okay, this character needs development. Bam, there it is.
Yeah.
They did do a good job of sandwiching it, though, because, once we learned that this Elia Kane Miss Bitch is like some sort of Imperial double agent, we go back to, okay, Din Djarin and Bo-Katan. They meet up at the Mandalorian Covenant. And, of course, when they get there, it's like, hey, you're apostate. You're not supposed to be here. But, nonetheless, they go to the armorer, and he produces the evidence needed to prove that he was in the living waters on Mandalore. So, okay, Din Djarin's back in the Children of the Watch.
And so is Bo-Katan.
Right, and that's the interesting part, is so is Bo-Katan, because through all this, they learn that she was also in the living waters. And the armorer is like, hey, okay, well, this is the way. And Bo-Katan's like, well, yeah, but I don't follow the way. And she's like, really? Have you? So you're in the waters, check. Did you take off your helmet since then? No. Okay, well, so far. So far.
Then you're back in the club. Maybe she was maybe after seeing the mythosaur, maybe she was having some kind of like religious crisis. Like, hey, maybe these fanatics, maybe they're onto something here, and hasn't taken her helmet off since.
I mean, she could, because listen, her whole group, they left her, and now here she is with the Children of the Watch, and they're all patting her on the back like, hey, this is the way, all right. And she could be like, well, shit, and I just saw the mythosaur, she could be questioning whether she really saw it. Yeah. But, no, you're right. I think she's definitely at a moment where it's like, what the fuck is going on here? Like, I don't know.
She's definitely at a crossroads as a character.
Not to mention, of course, the Vizsla guy that Jon Favreau plays. I can never remember his first name. I just know that he's Vizsla. Paz Vizsla. Paz Vizsla. Yeah. That's his name.
The one that greeted him when they showed up.
Right, called her a night owl. Yeah. Which is from previous shows, the Star Wars Snob knows. But there was another Mandalorian there that had a face mask just like hers that looked like, and this is all conjecture, but I don't even think she's the only like ex-night owl. So she may have kindred already there. So goes back to the name of the episode. What I was saying, I think it may have a double meaning because it's called The Convert. And it's like, okay, so who are they talking about? Are they talking about, the Dr. Pershing? Which, I mean, obviously he's kind of out of the picture at this point. Or are they talking about Bo-Katan Kryze, who is now, up to this point, a convert into the Children of the Watch?
But the Doctor would be a convert into the New Republic.
Right.
So which character are we talking about? You know what I
I
mean?
think we're talking about Bo-Katan because this is the Mandalorian show, and that guy's dead or brain dead at this point. So,
Yeah, pretty much.
or he could just have his memory erased, and I don't know, her get him back to the Imperials. I don't know. I
Well,
think it's Bo-Katan though.
my whole thing with her is that she took all the things that he packed up.
Yeah.
But what good is just having materials if you don't have anybody to push that like the idea through? I don't know. Maybe
Yeah,
they're
I don't
going off
know.
some of his old research, maybe from when he was working for Moff Gideon. I'm not sure. I don't know where it's going to go, but it's pretty exciting. Watching the episode, I'm like, I'm really not that interested. But then by the end, I find myself very interested.
Mm-hmm. Oh
Like,
yeah.
where's this show going to go? Because we're 3 episodes in now. We have what, 5 left?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I love it. Love it, love it, love it. It's just good shit. Good
Yep.
shit. Well, what did you think? I said it was the longest episode. I've seen people call it the Andor-Lorian. Because that part that we're talking about on Coruscant with Dr. Pershing and Aline Kane, that was very Andorish. So
Yes.
so the mANDORlorian, it's a little bit on the nose,
Hmm.
but I enjoyed it. What did you guys think? Let me know in the comments there, or of course on our Twitter at Omega Level Nerds. I'm excited, of course, for the next episode of The Mandalorian and The Bad Batch, but I know I'm in the minority, and that you got to be a certain level of nerd, I guess, to enjoy that. But do check it out because it is cool. Well, 8-Bit Ray, I know that you are a connoisseur of 80s horror schlock.
Very much so, sir.
Can't say that I enjoy them, but definitely recognizable things from my past. And the Toxic Crusaders is one of them. I remember the cartoon, I remember the toys.
Yep, based off of the movies The Toxic Avenger, and there are 4 of them, and they just get worse as they go along, and that's not saying much. It's a trauma movie. Trauma has always been super duper low budget. I mean, you're
Yeah.
talking, jeez, oh my God. Class of Nukem High, Surf Nazis Must Die, just crazy shit. If you've never seen the trailer for Surf Nazis Must Die, just treat yourself. For the love of
Surf
God, just
Nazi.
treat. Yeah, Surf Nazis Must Die. I think it's still free on Tubi. If just watch the trailer. Don't watch the movie because it's awful. But just treat yourself.
So, but what they're doing here is in late 2023, what we're going to get, Ray, and you're
Mhm.
saying take all my money on Twitter, is
All of
Retroware
it.
has announced. So, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle Shredder's Revenge that everybody's
Yep.
been going ape shit over?
I bought that thing day one, sir. Day
Okay.
one.
So now you're getting a Toxic Avenger version of that.
Yes, sir. It's the exact same company, Retroware. The ones
Mm-hmm.
that did Shredder's Revenge are coming back and doing the Toxic Crusader game. And if you watch the trailer, it looks very reminiscent. I mean, you could tell who worked on it, but it's very
Yeah.
reminiscent of Shredder's Revenge. It's bright, it's colorful, it's the way it should be. There was a Toxic Crusader game on Nintendo, and it was
Yes.
quite shit. Um, I owned it. I bought it from Toys R Us. I had to get the little ticket.
Ticket.
You
Yep.
know,
Gotta get a
yep.
ticket. Then you gotta
Gotta
go
get
to the front. Yep.
go to the cage, baby. Go to the cage. And that's when I got Toxic Crusaders because I loved the show. I had all the toys growing up, and it's really cool. But just the fact that this is just a weird property for them just to pick out of the blue. Like people that remember Toxic Crusaders, it seems like it's a very small niche. Like it's one of them shows where everybody watched it, but nobody remembers it. But then,
Yeah.
you think of like some of your favorite Ninja Turtle episodes, and you're like, oh man, the one with Baxter Stockman, or the Rat King taking over the museum and things like that. You remember the aliens with when the pizza or whatever they look
Yeah.
like pizza. You just remember shit like that. I couldn't tell you one episode of Toxic Crusaders that I absolutely adored. but I remember I loved the show. So I'm excited for this, man. I really hope it doesn't have too high. Like, I understand why they charged $40. Was it no 30? It was $30. Why they charged so much for TMNT when it first came out? It's a name. You know what I mean? It's Ninja
Right.
Turtles, man. We're gonna milk that cow to the end of days.
Right.
Uh, but this is Toxic Crusaders. Like, are they just gonna put the same price tag on it, $30 or 40 or whatever it was? I don't see that. I see it being around like a $20 game. In which case,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm here for it. Side scroll beat 'em ups, man. They're classic. It's hard to find a bad one. I mean, you go back to Golden Axe, Streets of Rage. I mean, side
Oh
scrollers
yeah.
are always they're just mindless fun.
Oh yeah.
Hell, even if you even want to go geek, we can go Maximum Carnage.
Yeah.
Playing as Spider-Man and Venom, and
All
it was
the
a hot.
X-Men beat 'em ups I played.
All X-Men the arcade, Simpsons arcade, like side scroll beat 'em ups are just they're
Yeah.
so easy to digest. They go down so smooth because they're so simplistic. Go to the right, beat 'em up, hit a special button or punch, kick, jump. Ninja Turtles arcade. I mean, just so many great side scroll beat 'em ups over our time. And they're making a comeback. Streets of Rage 4 actually proved that there is a market for this shit. And that's why you would get, your Ninja Turtles and your Toxic
Mm-hmm.
Crusaders. Um, but before that, I think the one that really showed them that side scroll beat 'em ups are not dead is the Scott Pilgrim game.
Mm.
Scott Pilgrim had a side scroll beat 'em up. Tons of fun. Available on PlayStation, Nintendo Switch, all that right now. Go get yourself a copy. It's a great time. Uh, but I think that showed that there is a market for this shit.
Yeah.
Us old heads, we love our side scroll beat 'em ups.
Yeah, we
We
like
used to
our
pop quarters into
mindless.
these things.
Yeah.
It's a way to get away, dude. Like, I don't have to digest. Like, I love The Last of Us as a game, right?
Yeah.
But that's a lot. That's a lot of fucking story, dude. Like,
Yeah.
I love Mass Effect. That's a huge fucking world. That's a lot of shit. Like, you really got to be focused. But if I throw on Ninja Turtles, I'm going to kick Shredder's ass, and that's it.
Yeah.
Like, I can just mindlessly tap buttons, and I think that's the beauty of it. And there'll always be a market for it. And it
Oh,
doesn't have to be.
always.
It doesn't have to be super pretty. It doesn't have to be classy. It's just throw characters on a select screen, pick your favorite, and go kick some ass.
Yeah, I'm right with you there. There will always be a market, even for like the 2D, what some may refer to as inferior graphics, because that's when these
My
sorts of
ass,
games were fun. Yeah, no, you're right. They're
my
not
ass.
inferior. They
If
they
you
hold
go
up
back,
better.
if you go back, right, and people always talk about how 2D fighters like with like Skullgirls, like these newer uh Guilty Gear, how they're really pretty, really flashy. Blaz
Yeah,
Blue is another one. They're really pretty, but they're 2.5 D or whatever. They're not 2D. But dude, if you go back and you look at Street Fighter 3 and look at the art on that. It's
yeah.
seamless. It's beautiful. It pops. It flows well. There's no sprite errors. Like, it's just so beautiful. And we really haven't had anything like that since. Even with all this technology, we somehow cannot recreate a good 2D fighter. And
Yeah.
that blows my mind. It's almost like with all the technologies. Like, look at our phones right now, right? We have the whole world in our fingertips, but we somehow cannot replicate mummification.
You're right.
We can't do it. How is that a thing? You know, I don't know. Just
Aliens.
something. Yeah, aliens, but I don't think aliens were making Shredder's Revenge or Toxic
No.
Crusaders. But just the fact that some things are a product of their time, but they're beautiful. Like we talked about not last week, about 2 weeks ago. We talked about Chrono Cross, Chrono Trigger,
Mm-hmm.
um, Legend of Dragoon, and how they're pixelated, but they're fucking beautiful. Um, they just can't replicate that, and I don't understand how. How I just don't. Like I said, all the technology we have, but we can't. It must have been a product of the time. The technology, I have no idea. but the fact that retro games, especially these arcade style beat 'em ups, are making a comeback, it fills my heart with joy, Don.
Mine
It
as
really
well, man.
does.
I'm right there with you because to me, the graphics looking the most realistic has never been my thing. I've always enjoyed the more fantastical imagery. Um, and beat 'em ups to me, I don't think that's really a genre that ever went away. I think it's always been a demand for it. I just think the industry tried to leap forward to a point where we didn't want to go. Because, like you said, as we grew up, we had the Ninja Turtles, the Streets of Rage, Quest of the Mystical Ninja. I mean, just all these cool 2D beat 'em up multiplayer games. And then came the PlayStation, and
Hmm.
it never
The
quite
the
translated into
the
3D.
the 3D beat 'em up was awful. If you remember a game called Fighting Force.
Fighting Force, that's what Fighting Force is one they
Uh,
tried on the PlayStation. Square tried one on the PlayStation 2, I remember, called Bouncer. I bought that game. I played it and beat it.
oh yeah, Bouncer.
Um,
Yeah.
but it was just a 2 hour game, which I get it. We're talking about a beat 'em up game, so they're going to be short, but it never captured the fun that you have with these sorts of couch co-op. And you're right, it's beautiful. Yeah, it doesn't look realistic, but look at all the color. Marvel's Capcom 2. Look at all the fucking blast and fireballs and shit. It just looks awesome. And so what I wonder is because again, we're seeing the Toxic Crusader one come out on the heels of the Ninja Turtle success. I was just kind of thinking, well, what else can they do in this genre? What would you like to see? And I was thinking a Transformers type beat 'em up. I'd love to see a 2D Transformers game like this, reminiscent of I don't know if you ever played Transformers Devastation, but that was a really fun game, actually. 3D. It was the type of game. It was mostly beat 'em up, though. You were a transformer, but you couldn't just decide, oh, I'm going to transform now. You had to do these move sets, and then as part of the moves, you'd turn into the semi truck real quick and run over somebody and then turn around. So I'd like to see a transformer 2D beat 'em up. But any other nostalgia properties you'd like to see come back as one of these 2D beat 'em ups?
Yep, I got one.
What's
Perfect. I invested a lot of money into this as a child. Alien versus Predator.
that was number two on my list because there
Yes,
was there
sir.
was an Alien versus Predator beat 'em up in the arcades. It was fucking
Yep.
awesome. So okay, I'm with you. Okay, go for
Yep.
it. Sorry, I was just
I
excited.
would I would like either a high def re-release of that of
Mm-hmm.
the exact game, or maybe remaster it, make a new game, but keep the core elements, man. Because
Yeah,
playing as the humans and the predators was just so cool.
it
You know,
was.
I don't know anybody that honestly picked the humans in that game, unless you were the fourth player and you're just stuck with
No,
one. But
because and here's why, because they had another arcade before that of just aliens.
Mhm.
And you got to be the cool space marine there. So yeah, when you came back into the arcade and you saw Alien vs Predator and that you could be predators, fuck no, you're not being a goddamn space marine.
Yeah, they only released that on one console, and I want to say it was the Atari Jaguar. But then again, I'm thinking maybe TurboGrafx 16. They released it on one home console on a, oh man, it might have been that one Panasonic put out, the 3DO.
Yeah,
Somebody got it, but I would just like a re-release of it. I would love to play that game again. I know that they did X-Men Arcade and Simpsons Arcade, very limited,
mm-hmm.
in the 360 PS3 era, digital only. I'd like to see those come back, but I know with licensing and all that, you're really
But I
not
say a
going to get
bunch of
that.
that stuff's about to disappear, isn't it? Isn't it like the
Yeah,
Xbox 360? What is it
the
called?
digital,
Yeah,
yeah, the digital catalog. They said you should go back and re-download all your games because once they're going to shut that market down for the 360. I believe PS3 marketplace is still up, but I don't know for how long.
Yeah.
You're coming up on like 15 plus years for PS3. No, it hasn't been 15. Has it been 15? 2000, put it math.
Mm,
Yeah, it's been about 15
yeah.
years. So it's
Yeah.
had a good run. So if they shut it down, that's gonna suck. But if you were one of those lucky people that got X-Men Arcade and Simpsons Arcade in that limited time they were available because they released them, but then they had some kind of licensing copyright issues or some
Yeah.
shit. The deal expired. Almost like Marvel Ultimate Alliance, if you remember that game.
Yeah.
Marvel Ultimate Alliance, if you bought the PlayStation version of it, you got Venom, right?
Mm.
If you bought the Xbox version of it, you got Carnage. Well, here's the thing. Um, they stopped selling the DLC for that game very quickly
Yeah.
because of the licensing issue, because the Marvel deal was up, and uh, so they shut that down. So there is a gold edition that's very expensive, and then you get all the characters. Silver Surfer's in it. You could be Doctor Doom. You could be the villains. All kinds
Nice.
of shit. Really cool. Um, and then like Marvel vs. Capcom 3, that licensing deal ended, and they pulled all the shit from the shop. So if you had a copy back in the day and you bought the DLCs, you can go back and get them, but you'd have to download them soon because they're going to be shutting those servers down.
Mm. I was lucky enough. I purchased and downloaded Marvel vs. Capcom 2 while it was on the PlayStation Network
Yeah,
for my
there's another one.
PlayStation
Yeah.
3. So that's pretty much the only reason I have. My PlayStation 3 has two purposes. One, to play Marvel vs. Capcom 2, and two, to play all my old PlayStation 1 Final Fantasy games, because I don't have anything else that plays PlayStation 1 games.
It was really cool when they put out Marvel vs. Capcom 2 on the Xbox because you could play online. And
Yes.
I thought that was really cool. And it
You
had a
can
ranking
still do
system
it.
and like
Yeah.
it's
Those
still
people are
online.
crazy. Yeah.
The server, okay, because I know that there is an emulator that you can get and play people online, but it's a whole hassle of how you can do it.
Yeah, it is. And the people on there are
Just
insane.
yeah, Justin Wong, he live streams sometimes and he plays Marvel vs. Capcom 2 online, but he has to do all this backdooring shit to get it to play. So I'm like, that's too
Yeah.
much for me. I love the game, but I don't need to play online. I can just kick the shit out of everybody.
Yep.
And the computer's just fine.
Yep, me and my buddy Halo Drum just play. It's fun enough. But all right, well, so are you gonna? So you planning on getting though the Toxic Crusaders? Then I
Yeah,
take it.
there are a couple of like retro property games that are coming out that I'm pretty excited for. They just dropped a trailer for the Texas Chainsaw Massacre game. Don't ask
Yeah.
questions. I'm probably gonna get it. Um, Toxic Crusader is. I just saw the trailer yesterday, and I'm like, we got to talk about this. And one more is, and actually, I'm a beta tester on the game. I'm waiting for my
Ooh.
for the beta to open up. It's for Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
Oh wow. Okay.
So once they send me the code, they're gonna send me a beta code, and I input it, and then it'll download. And then I'm actually a tester on the game, so I'm pretty excited about that.
Nice.
Yeah. Plus, Killer Clowns from Outer Space. That's me and the kids' jam. We just saw it in theaters. I took her to the movies. They had a special screening of it
I
a
saw
couple weeks
that.
ago. Yeah. So Killer Clowns is my jam. And the soundtrack on vinyl. Like,
Wow.
I'm a sucker. What can I say? Love the movie.
Hey, whatever floats your boat. Yeah, I remember seeing that when I was a young kid. I never felt like going back. That's just me. I'm not a horror guy.
Yeah, well, I bought the Evil Dead game. I love that. Pretty much, if you put something I love on a property, I'm gonna buy
You're
it.
gonna get it.
Like a game. Yeah, even that shitty ass Blade Runner game they put out like 10 years ago. That shit is awful. Still bought it. Still bought it. I'm a sucker. What can I say?
Brand loyalty.
Pretty much. I used to buy Star Wars games a lot too. And man, did I learn my lesson to be picky choosy with those because some were good and some were shit.
You do have to be picky choosy for sure.
Very.
Actually, but speaking of Star Wars games, I know a lot of people love, Nintendo 64, and to me, that really just was not one of my favorite systems. But with that said, the Star Wars games on that console were the greatest.
Shadows of the
Yeah,
Empire,
Shadows of the
Rogue
Empire.
Squadron. Oh god, yeah. Even Rogue Squadron 2, it was harder than the first game, but it was still fun. You know, to be able to fly an X-wing in a 3D model, not just
Yeah.
like Rebel Assault, if you remember that shit
Yeah.
game. Um, where you're just flying and it's just a target thing, and you might see the edges of the X-wing like pointing
Right.
forward, like, "Oh, I'm in an X-wing." Bullshit, you're not in an X-wing. But this game let you, fly it from the back and actually see it move and fly, and it's
Yeah.
just so ahead of its time.
Yeah, for
I,
sure.
but man, Star Wars games, that's a whole conversation for us if we had to go through that. That's whew.
I
That's
might have to put something together. Maybe
Super
top
Star
5,
Wars.
bottom 5.
Phew. Super Star Wars. That shit Star Wars that was on regular Nintendo. Those were bad.
All
Oh
the
man.
Atari ones. I used to play the
Oh, the
Atari one
Atari one
all the
where
time.
Darth Vader turns into a snake. Like
Yeah.
what? Like okay, video game tropes, I guess. But yeah, man, there's so many good Star Wars games and so many shit Star Wars games. More shit than gold, but you
I'll
know
have
what?
to
It's
rank them. Maybe. Yeah, that
well,
sounds
well,
like a
we
good idea.
also well, we also have the sequel to Fallen Order coming out. Jedi Fallen Order. I forget what it's called. Jedi Fallen Order 2,
Yeah.
I guess you might call it.
Survivor. I think it's called
Yeah,
Survivor
yeah,
or
yeah.
some shit.
Yeah, I knew it had a nickname, yeah. But
Yeah.
that would be fun. That'd be fun to talk about some old Star Wars games. Shit, I wouldn't mind. There's so many. There's literally hundreds. Like it's a lot, dude. It's a
Let's
lot.
not even mention all the Jedi Academies they came out with.
Oh yeah. Jedi Academy 2 was the shit.
2
Jeez.
MMOs. One's still currently going.
KOTOR, Knights of the Old Republic, take my money any day.
Well, that's the whole
Re-release
reason I
that.
bought the Xbox.
They put it out on iOS, Don.
They
Like
did.
you can
They
play it.
did.
Yeah, you can play it on your
Yes.
iPad or whatever. But why? Like you don't need to play it on. I don't know. It's just something weird about playing a game I love on an iPad. It's just weird.
I've done it a couple of times. Final Fantasy IV, I played on my iPhone. When I first bought my iPhone, I was like astonished that you could download Final Fantasy IV, Chrono Trigger. Final Fantasy Tactics, I played on my iPad. Actually, that wasn't too bad. That was actually pretty cool where they integrated the touchscreen there. But I did download KOTOR. But yeah, I never played that one. It's that one's like a computer Xbox type deal to me.
Yeah.
Good times, though. Good times. The hardest thing about that is you can't, at least for me, because you can only level so many times in that game, and I wanted to get as many Jedi levels as possible.
Oh, you went the complete opposite route of me, sir. I
Oh,
was going full dark side.
yeah, no, I will. No, I was all light, but the thing is you couldn't level up to be a Jedi until you got to Dantooine, which was the second world. So I had to stay level 2 on the whole first planet. So, and like at the end of it is this tournament that you're in. I just got to sit there and pump myself up with stims to try and stay alive and do enough damage to get past it. But it's able to do. And then then you go to Dantooine. You've got like 2 or 3 levels already stacked up. So you're like boom boom Jedi. Anyway, great game, KOTOR. Yeah. All right, well, good stuff good stuff here. Good discussion with you there, Mr. 8-Bit. You, of course, frequent the Omega Level Nerds, but just where else can we find you, sir?
You can find me on Twitch at 8BitRay. Be sure to hit that subscribe button. I'm live Monday, Wednesday, and technically I should be live 9 minutes ago, but Don's more important. So Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 10 p.m. And I play a variety of games. Right now I'm just stuck in Apex mode, but I'm eventually going to move out. I have 131 games on my hard drive back here that I really need to get to because I paid for them.
Yep. Don't let them go to waste.
Oh, they ain't going nowhere. Nope.
Although I did Octopath Traveler go to waste. That's one game I was like, I paid for it, but I just don't like it. Anyway, it's my personal vitriol on that game. Thought it was going to be so great.
On a brighter note, Don, they did put out the patch for Legend of Dragoon. so I can play the game without it crashing.
Oh,
So,
nice.
but that's a big investment, Don. That's like 40 hours.
40
man.
hours, yeah.
40 hours if you know what you're doing. Like, it's a long game. uh, so that's an investment. Yeah.
Do it.
Ugh.
All right, yeah. So make sure you check Ray out. Gorilla Brain podcast, part of the Geek World All Stars podcast network. Underrated podcast. When have you released those yet?
The Overlooked Hotel.
Overlooked Hotel. Yeah, there you go. I keep calling it the Overlooked Hotel. Yeah, and we're on the last episode of Superhero Speak, the 500th episode. Don't mind my
last.
Yeah, I know. Well, it was the last because as of recording this, it's the last one that was not the actual last. Although I don't know, they had 7 dudes on there. Maybe it could have broke something. No, I see they're going to be reviewing Shazam: Fury of the Gods. So I'm sure it's a. Did you go out and watch that movie?
No, that's not for me. I didn't watch the first one. I've given up on all DC properties.
No, I know. I'm the same.
I have zero faith. I'm excited about the new Batman movie though with Michael Keaton.
Well, that's because it's Michael Keaton.
Well, they call it the Flash, but
right.
We all know it's Batman.
Yeah, that's why they wouldn't scrap it after Ezra's bullshit. But that's another topic for another day. Make sure and check out.
That's a whole podcast at this point.
Yeah, for real. So yeah, go check that out. Go check out the 500th episode of Superhero Speak. Where Ray and I and 5 other dudes talk about stuff. Don't mind my mic. I don't know my mic on that one.
No. I listened to it back, Don. You sound fine.
Okay.
Dave must have did some wizardry or something.
Right. So check that out and check out the rest of the videos here on the channel. Like and subscribe, please. I beg. And let us know what you think of the. Are you going to be playing the Toxic Adventures beat 'em up game? Is there any other 80s properties that you'd like to see become a new age beat 'em up game? Let me know in the comments or tweet it at us at Omega Level Nerds on Twitter, or you can email the show, and that's OmegaLevelNerds@gmail.com. All right, till next time, guys. Have a good one. See you next time.